The war ended the way most stupid things in the galaxy did, by accident. One moment, the Zelnari Dominion was vaporizing moons to prove a point. The next, their fleet systems collapsed under a burst of human code that started as a meme. Literally a meme. Someone on Earth had embedded a Trojan horse inside a dancing cat video titled, "They Won't See It Coming." They didn't. Now, 3 weeks later, the victors were standing in the ruins of a thrown world that still smelled like ozone and arrogance. Human soldiers, soot-streaked and exhausted, gathered under the domed sky of the Capitol Plaza where shards of alien marble floated midair from the still-melting grav pylons. Sergeant Jack Murdoch didn't feel victorious. He felt hungry, sore, and mildly annoyed that interstellar warfare didn't come with dental coverage. The man was a mess of contradictions, his uniform unzipped halfway, his face carrying both humor and exhaustion, and his right boot duct-taped at the sole. He was the sort of man who'd win a war and then complain about the lack of decent coffee. Beside him, Lieutenant Harlow whispered, "You think they'll actually give us medals this time?" Jack smirked. "Knowing our luck? Probably coupons." They didn't get coupons. They got invitations. The Zelnari High Council, desperate to preserve some dignity, announced a grand ceremony to honor the valiant soldiers of Terra. Translation: a political apology dressed as a party. Each soldier, they said, would be given a gift. Something meaningful. Jack imagined a shiny alien watch, maybe a hoverbike. What he got instead was an ambassador explaining, through 3 translators and 1 psychic bird, that he must choose a companion from among the Empire's honored citizens. He blinked. "You mean, like a friend?" The ambassador smiled nervously, her crystalline scales flickering blue. "A bond of alliance. Permanent and ceremonial." Harlow elbowed him. "They're giving you a date, man. A space princess." Jack scratched the back of his neck. "Great. I can finally tell Mom I'm seeing someone. She just glows in ultraviolet." When the day came, the plaza had been rebuilt into something halfway between a cathedral and a beauty pageant. Zelnari nobles stood in a glittering line, their bio-crystal skin refracting starlight. Their dresses shimmered like liquid galaxies, their eyes luminous pools of intelligence and pride. Human soldiers shifted awkwardly in their dress uniforms, whispering jokes to cope with the surreal tension. Jack stood in the middle, staring at the long line of alien women, and wondering how a kid from Ohio had ended up in what looked like the universe's strangest episode of The Bachelor. The announcer's voice echoed through the plaza, melodious and proud. "Behold, the chosen companions of valor, each a jewel of our empire." Jack coughed. "Yeah, I see a lot of jewels." He whispered to Harlow, "I just hope one of them can cook." Harlow laughed, so hard he nearly got tackled by security. At the far end of the line stood a figure who didn't quite fit the aesthetic. She was shorter, rounder, her armor-like clothing slightly too tight around the middle. Her skin had a muted sheen, not the radiant glow of the others. She wasn't even standing straight. She was balancing a tray of nutrient cubes, clearly serving the refreshments. Jack's gaze lingered. Something about her looked real. Everyone else glimmered like statues in a museum. She looked alive, nervous, human in a strange way. The announcer finished listing the noble houses. A pause, a ripple of anticipation. It was time. "Sergeant Jack Murdoch, United Defense Force, Earth," the voice boomed. "Step forward to receive your bond of gratitude." Jack walked up, boots echoing on alien marble, trying not to trip over centuries of protocol. The High Chancellor, a tall, six-eyed being who smelled faintly of citrus, gestured toward the line of radiant alien maidens. "You may choose," he intoned. Jack looked them over. They were breathtaking, sure, but they all had the same expression. Serene, superior, faintly bored. Then his eyes caught the one at the end, the plump alien holding snacks, her tray wobbling as she tried to look invisible. He grinned. "I'll take her." A collective gasp swept through the crowd like a solar flare. Even the translators froze mid-breath. The Chancellor blinked, all 6 eyes at once. "Sergeant," he said slowly, "perhaps you misunderstood. That one is not of the warrior caste. She is logistical staff. Perfect, Jack replied cheerfully. I'm terrible with logistics. She'll balance me out. The ambassador nearly dropped her ceremonial staff. But she is exactly who I want, Jack interrupted. No offense to the glitter crew, but I like someone who looks like she eats her own rations. Harlow from the crowd, you madman. Laughter rippled among the humans. The aliens didn't know whether to be horrified or impressed. The chosen alien, still holding the tray, blinked her large amber eyes. Me, she squeaked, her voice deep but trembling. You choose me? Jack gave a casual shrug. Why not? You look like someone who won't let me starve. A few of the aliens whispered in disbelief. One muttered, humans must reproduce through chaos. The Chancellor, cornered by custom, finally nodded. So it shall be. The bond is recognized. Tarka, that was her name, he'd learn later, set down her tray with shaking hands. Her expression was a storm of confusion, embarrassment, and a flicker of pride. She approached the dais like someone walking to her own arrest. Jack extended a hand. She hesitated, then placed hers in his. Her skin was warm, surprisingly soft. There was strength in that grip, hidden, unacknowledged. The applause began uncertainly polite and thin. But the humans clapped louder, hooped, cheered, because that's what humans do when things get awkward. They turn it into a party. After the ceremony, when the aliens retreated to whisper about primitive unpredictability, Jack and Tarka stood at the edge of the plaza. The wind carried the metallic scent of burned air and blooming alien trees. You didn't have to choose me, she murmured. They would have given you anyone. Exactly, he said, sipping from a battered steel mug. Everyone was too polished. I wanted someone who looks like they've seen a real day. Her mouth twitched into a reluctant smile. I am not considered desirable among my kind. Yeah, well, your kind also thought vaporizing planets was good diplomacy, Jack said. Maybe it's time someone rewrote the rulebook. Tarka studied him, her amber eyes narrowing. You are either very wise or very foolish. Jack shrugged. 50-50 odds, same as breakfast. A silence fell between them, companionable and strange. She looked up at the shattered skyline, then down at her hands. I was not meant to stand in that line, she said softly. I was only there to serve food. He smiled. And now you're stuck with a human who still owes the army 12 push-ups. She laughed, a low, rolling sound that made the nearby guards glance over in confusion. It was the first time she'd laughed in years. For a fleeting moment, beneath the ruins of empire, two unlikely souls found something that felt almost peaceful. Then in the distance the sky flickered, briefly but unmistakably. A ripple of gravity shimmered through the air, bending light like heat. Jack felt it, a tug behind his ribs, subtle but real. Tarka froze, color draining from her skin. What was that? He asked. She didn't answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the horizon, where the remnants of a Zelnari warship shimmered and collapsed into itself, metal folding like paper under invisible pressure. The wind died. The alien trees fell still. Jack frowned. That normal around here? Tarka's voice trembled, almost inaudible. No, that was me. He turned to her, half expecting a joke. But her eyes glowed faintly gold, and the ground beneath her boots rippled as if afraid. In the distance, alarms began to wail. Jack took a slow sip of coffee. Well, he said quietly, this just got interesting. And above them, the fractured sky trembled, like the universe itself had just realized what humanity had done. The UDS Pathfinder drifted through the blue shimmer of slip space like a stubborn fly in a hurricane, engines humming a tune that sounded suspiciously like fatigue. Inside, the human crew had turned the galaxy's most advanced warship into a floating frat house of caffeine, sarcasm, and existential confusion. Sergeant Jack Murdoch sat in the mess hall, half listening to the newsfeed blaring from a hollow panel. Every galactic channel showed his face. Some called him the Fool of Terra, others the human who broke tradition. The rest simply called him the one who chose the fat one. Jack scrolled through comments projected in alien script, all glowing indignantly. Guess I'm famous, he muttered, stirring sugar into his coffee. Finally living the dream. Across from him, Tarka poked at a bowl of oatmeal with the wariness of someone disarming a bomb. You consume this? She asked, her voice rich and skeptical. Every morning, Jack said, keeps you strong. And cranky. She tilted her head, expression unreadable. It looks like insulation foam. Welcome to Earth cuisine. He grinned. Tarka was still adjusting to human life, her long limbs awkward in narrow corridors, her sense of balance off under-Earth standard gravity. The ship's crew watched her with curiosity and amusement. Some called her the Grav Girl. Others called her Murdoch's pet planet. None dared insult her within Jack's hearing. When she laughed, it came out like thunder rolling through a canyon, startling, beautiful, uncontained. But laughter came rarely. More often she sat silently by the viewport, staring at the glittering rivers of light outside, as though trying to remember something just beyond her reach. The ripple of gravity she'd created back on Zelnari Prime had scared her. It had scared everyone. The event, registered as a Class V anomaly, powerful enough to bend orbital debris and short out satellite arrays. But official reports labeled it equipment malfunction. Humanity didn't yet know what to make of her, and neither did she. Jack didn't ask. He just made coffee and told stories. So, there was this one time on Mars, he said, gesturing with his mug, when a rookie tried to smuggle a puppy past customs. Thing barked during inspection, and the officer thought it was a bomb. Whole base went on lockdown for 12 hours. Tarka blinked. You keep small predators as companions? Yeah, we call it love. She shook her head. Humans are chaos given flesh. He smirked. You say that like it's a bad thing. Outside their ship, the galaxy buzzed with speculation. The Zelnari Dominion's sudden surrender had left a vacuum of power, and every empire wanted to know what humanity's next move would be. Diplomatic envoys poured in, all with the same goal, figure out what the humans were. To the galactic elite, they were paradoxes, primitive but dangerous, emotional yet brilliant, unpredictable yet loyal. To Jack, they were just people trying to get Wi-Fi in deep space. He was in the middle of teaching Tarka how to shuffle a deck of cards when Commander Ree stormed in, waving a data pad. Murdoch, you moron, she barked. You've started a cultural incident. Jack looked up, feigning innocence. Again? What did I do this time? Ree thrust the pad at him. The hollow flared to life, displaying a galactic broadcast, a council of alien diplomats shouting over one another. In the background was an image, Jack and Tarka standing on the Zelnari stage, holding hands. Apparently, Ree said through gritted teeth, they think your bond means Earth has claimed dominion over the Glornak species. Jack frowned. Dominion? We barely have dominion over Mondays. Tarka looked horrified. That cannot be. My people are free. Not according to half the galaxy, Ree snapped. They think we enslaved a gravitic species to use as living weapons. Silence. Only the hum of the engines filled the air. Jack leaned back, exhaling slowly. So, diplomatic crisis. Again. Do you ever not cause one? Ree asked. He grinned. Not my style. Within hours, the Pathfinder was surrounded by reporters' drones, each projecting 1,000 flashing lights like hungry fireflies. Messages flooded the ship's comms. Accusations, threats, requests for interviews. Memes already circulated animated images of Tarka swallowing planets, Jack riding her shoulder like a cowboy. Humanity's first impression on the galaxy was chaos incarnate. Tarka avoided the mess hall for days, retreating into her quarters. Jack could hear the hum of her gravity field through the bulkhead, a faint vibration like the heartbeat of a star. Finally, he knocked. Go away, she said. He didn't. He stepped inside, holding a steaming mug. The air was thick, heavy. Objects on the shelves vibrated gently. Tarka sat on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees. You're bending the room again, Jack said softly. I cannot control it, she murmured. When I feel shame, the field stirs. He crouched beside her. You've got nothing to be ashamed of. You do not understand, she said. The Glornaks are feared, not respected. We are laborers, not citizens. My power is embarrassing. It is not beauty. It is burden. Jack handed her the coffee. You know what we call people with burdens on Earth? She looked up, puzzled. Strong, he said simply. For a moment she said nothing. Then, slowly, the field eased. The air lightened. She sipped the drink and winced. It is bitter. Like life, Jack said. Her laughter filled the room, again, deep and rolling. It was the kind of sound that made the walls hum in sympathy. News of her laughter spread through the crew. The humans adored her now. Nicknamed her Tarka, the Terrific. She learned to play poker, to dance badly to old rock songs, to quote lines from Ghostbusters. Yet beneath the humor lingered tension. Reports came in, Zelnari fleets reassembling, spies vanishing, broadcasts intercepted. The Dominion wasn't done, they were regrouping. One evening, while the crew slept, the ship's AI flickered to life with a warning tone. Unauthorized signal detected. It said, Origin, Zelnari space. Jack was on the bridge within minutes, hair sticking up, coffee in hand. The hologram showed a sleek, black warship emerging from the void. Its insignia unmistakable. The Zelnari emblem pulsed like a beating wound. Commander Ree appeared beside him. They're demanding we surrender Tarka. Jack blinked. Come again. They claim she's a rogue weapon. They want her back. The comm screen lit up. A Zelnari admiral appeared. Tall, crystalline, furious. Human vessel, he said, voice dripping venom. You have stolen Imperial property. Return the Glornax entity immediately, or we will reclaim her by force. Jack took a long sip of coffee. You ever heard of a thing called free will, buddy? The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You would go to war over this creature? Not a creature, Jack said. My friend. Silence hung for a heartbeat too long. Then the Admiral's tone hardened. Then you will die with her. The transmission cut. Red lights flared across the bridge. The klaxon screamed, low and steady. Commander Ree barked orders. The crew scrambled. Jack turned to Tarka, who had appeared silently behind him, drawn by the commotion. Her expression was unreadable. They won't stop, she said. They cannot allow a Glornax to bond with an alien species. It threatens their hierarchy. He looked at her. You scared? She met his gaze, calm and unflinching. Yes, but not for me. The ship shook as a grav mine detonated nearby. Alarms wailed. Jack grinned, heart hammering with adrenaline. Guess the honeymoon's over. She frowned. Honeymoon. Long story. Ends with explosions. Outside, the stars seemed to twist, space rippling with invisible pressure. Tarka's skin shimmered faintly as her control slipped. Gravity bent around her like a shield, pulling loose screws into orbit around her body. Jack stepped closer. Hey, breathe. Don't let them make you their weapon. She looked at him, eyes wide, voice trembling. I am trying. The Zelnari warship loomed larger in the viewport, energy cannons charging. Commander re-shouted for evasive maneuvers. Jack placed a hand on Tarka's arm. You've got this, he whispered. You're not alone anymore. She closed her eyes. The hum deepened into a roar. Outside, space itself bent. The Zelnari ship buckled like paper, its hull crumpling inward without a single shot fired. Every human on the bridge stared in silent awe. The sensors screamed. The Admiral's transmission cut off mid-syllable. The wreckage drifted in perfect, terrible silence. Tarka opened her eyes, tears glinting like molten gold. I did not mean to. Jack shook his head. You did what you had to. Below them, the starfield rippled again, larger this time, spreading outward. The instruments flickered. Ree whispered, that wasn't just her. Something else responded. Jack looked at the expanding distortion and muttered half to himself. Yeah, looks like the galaxy just woke up. And somewhere far beyond the sensor's reach, 100 alien fleets suddenly turned their attention toward one small human ship, because the universe had learned a new kind of fear, the human way. The stars burned red in the viewport, an omen, if anyone on the Pathfinder believed in omens anymore. The ship floated at the edge of a dying nebula, its hull bruised and scarred from near misses. Alarms had fallen silent an hour ago, replaced by a deeper, more dangerous quiet. The kind that meant the galaxy was holding its breath. Tarka sat cross-legged in the observation bay, eyes closed, hands trembling against her knees. Around her, small metal tools hovered, circling like confused satellites. The gravity field pulsed with her heartbeat. Jack stood in the doorway, watching. He looked like a man who'd seen too much and joked too little. Still nothing from command, he asked. Commander Ree, beside him, shook her head. Earth's dark. No signal since the flare. Every relay went down the moment that ripple expanded. Maybe they're busy making memes about it, Jack muttered, rubbing his temples. The one where the galaxy ends and nobody brings snacks. Ree didn't smile. If this spreads, it'll collapse star lanes. Tarka's the epicenter. Whatever she did to that fleet, she amplified something we don't understand. Jack glanced at the alien woman, whose breathing had grown steadier. Then we understand it now. She's the reason we're still alive. Ree's expression softened. You're too close, Murdoch. He smirked. Story of my life. The ship shuddered as gravity tremors rippled through nearby space. Outside, debris from the destroyed Zelnari armada drifted like metallic pollen, catching the nebula's light in eerie, beautiful patterns. Tarka opened her eyes. They glowed faintly gold. They will come, she said quietly. Not just the Dominion. The others too. They fear what they cannot name. Jack stepped closer. Then we make them name it. Her mouth curved into a small, uncertain smile. You are fearless. He shook his head. No, I'm just too stubborn to stop showing up. Before she could respond, the ship's proximity alarm screamed. Red light drenched the room. Ree's voice crackled through the comm. Multiple contacts. 20-plus signatures, incoming fast. Zelnari and, hell, 3 other factions. They've formed a coalition. Jack groaned. Great. Galactic Group Project. He ran for the bridge. The crew was already in motion, screens flaring, commands overlapping. The tactical map bloomed with red icons. Dozens of ships, maybe hundreds, closing in. The lead transmission cut through the static. A chorus of voices, synthesized and cold. Human vessel. Surrender the anomaly known as Glornax Prime. Noncompliance will result in sterilization of your sector. Jack stared at the message, coffee in hand. They always skip to the threats. Never just call to chat. Tarka appeared behind him. They will not stop. Then neither will we, he said, setting the mug down. Ree, ready the defense grid. Arm everything that goes boom. The commander hesitated. Sir, our chances are terrible. Yeah, I know. But terrible odds make better stories. Outside, the coalition fleet spread like a swarm, surrounding the human vessel. Their weapons charged, casting violet and blue glows across the void. Inside, tension coiled tight enough to hum. Tarka gripped the railing, her aura flickering. They want me. I can feel their sensors pulling at my core. They think I am property. Jack's voice softened. You're no one's property, Tarka. The first salvo hit. The Pathfinder lurched violently, shields flaring white. Consoles sparked, and crew members shouted over the din re-barked orders to stabilize power. Jack staggered, slammed into a wall, then straightened with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. All right, let's show the galaxy what a bad idea looks like. They returned fire. Rail cannons roared, missiles streaked through vacuum, detonations flaring like miniature suns. The bridge trembled under the assault. For every ship they hit, 2 more arrived. Tarka clutched her head, her breathing erratic. They are sinking their grav drives, trying to trap us in a fold. Can you counter it? Jack asked. I can try. She closed her eyes. The deck plates rattled. Every loose object, cups, tools, pens, lifted into the air. The hum deepened into a thunder that had no sound, only sensation. Outside, the nearest enemy cruiser warped, its hull bending inward before imploding into a perfect sphere of crushed metal. The crew stared in awe and terror. Tarka, that's enough, Ree shouted, but Tarka didn't hear. Her glow intensified, her voice shaking. They will not take me again. The surrounding ships wavered, their trajectories bending toward her like iron to a magnet. Even light distorted, streaking toward her in rippling arcs. Jack moved to her side, gripping her arm. "Hey, you're not alone anymore, remember?" Her breathing steadied slightly. "If I stop, we die?" "If you lose yourself, we lose you," he said. The balance teetered between destruction and control. Then, slowly she exhaled. The field stabilized. Enemy ships floated, disabled but intact, caught in her gravity well like flies in amber. The bridge fell silent except for the soft ping of cooling metal. Ree whispered, she stopped them. Tarka sagged, exhausted, her glow fading to a soft pulse. "For now." Jack caught her before she fell. She looked impossibly small in his arms despite her size. "You did good, kid," he murmured. Her eyes fluttered. "I am older than you by 2 centuries. Then you did good, Grandma." Even Ree laughed, brief and breathless. But the relief didn't last. Long-range sensors spiked, dozens more ships emerging from hyperspace, forming a blockade. These weren't warships. They were capital vessels of the Galactic Senate, the arbiters of peace. Ree paled. "They're not here to fight. They're here to judge." The main hollow flared to life, revealing a holographic council chamber filled with representatives from every major power. At its center, the High Arbiter of the Senate, a being woven entirely from light, spoke with a voice like static and silk. "Human vessel," it said, "your actions violate multiple interstellar accords. The creature you harbored destabilizes the balance of existence. Hand her over, or Earth itself will be sanctioned." Jack stepped forward. "Sanctioned for what?" "Surviving." The Arbiter's glow dimmed. "For defying order." Tarka stirred, her voice faint but resolute. "Order built on fear is not order. It is slavery." Murmurs rippled through the holographic assembly. Some alien faces nodded in quiet agreement. Others looked ready to ignite. Jack folded his arms. "You talk about balance, but what you mean is control. You're afraid of what happens when someone doesn't play by your rules." "Humanity has no place dictating morality," the Arbiter replied. "Maybe not," Jack said, "but we're damn good at breaking bad systems." The council chamber buzzed with outrage. Warnings flared across the Pathfinder systems, lock-ons from multiple fleets. Tarka straightened, her exhaustion vanishing beneath a calm that chilled the air. "If they come," she whispered, "I will end them." Jack turned to her sharply. "No, we end this another way." Her gaze met his. "There is no other way. They will not stop until I am gone." He hesitated, the weight of command pressing down like gravity itself. "Then we make them listen." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "How?" "By being louder than fear." He activated the open comms, broadcasting across every frequency. His voice carried through every ship, every station, every world within range. "This is Sergeant Jack Murdoch of Earth," he said. "You're scared of her because you think power belongs only to the ones who already have it. But here's the thing, humans don't believe in that. We believe in the underdog. We believe in second chances. And if that scares you, good." Across the bridge, silence reigned. Even the Senate feed froze for a moment, caught between disbelief and fury. Tarka placed a hand over his, her pulse steady now. "You speak like a leader." He smiled faintly. "Nah. Just a guy who hates bullies." Outside, the Coalition fleet began to reposition, forming a tighter net. The sensors screamed again, something vast approaching from beyond the system, blotting out the stars. Ree's eyes widened. "It's their flagship, half a moon in size." Jack's grin returned, tired but defiant. "Then let's give them a welcome." He looked to Tarka. "You ready?" She took a deep breath. The lights flickered as her power surged once more, soft golden waves radiating from her skin. "I am done running," she said. The stars outside began to bend. The flagship loomed closer, its shadow swallowing the void. Every eye on the bridge turned toward her. Jack whispered, "Let's scare them one last time." Tarka closed her eyes. The air thickened, the floor trembled, and space itself seemed to inhale. far beyond the horizon, the enemy fleet began to break apart, drawn toward a forming singularity. And as light bent and silence deepened, Jack muttered through a grin, they wanted the fat one. Now they've got her. The world, or what remained of it, was quiet again. No alarms, no trembling bulkheads, no thunder of collapsing stars. Only the soft hum of the Pathfinder drifting through the emptiness where once an empire had burned. The void beyond the viewport shimmered faintly, like the afterimage of something immense and holy. The war had lasted 3 hours. The silence afterward felt like eternity. Jack Murdoch sat slumped in the command chair, one boot propped on the console, the other dangling loosely as if gravity itself had lost interest in him. His uniform was torn, streaked with soot and blood. A bandage curled around his forearm, its edges already peeling. He looked less like a soldier and more like someone who'd accidentally survived history. Across the bridge, Commander Ree was cataloging damage reports with the dull precision of a surgeon who'd run out of patience. The hollow displays flickered with casualty numbers, repair estimates, and lists of systems that no longer existed. The data scrolled endlessly, yet somehow none of it mattered anymore. They had won, if won was even the right word for what had happened. Jack tilted his head back and stared at the dim lights overhead. Ree, he said after a long pause, when's the part where we get medals, a parade, and a lifetime supply of bad whiskey? Ree didn't look up. Considering we just destabilized the largest multi-species political system in the galaxy, I'd say right after the execution orders. He chuckled. So soon. A faint laugh escaped her then, fragile, tired, but real. For the first time in hours, the bridge felt a little less haunted. The elevator doors hissed open, and Tarka stepped in. She wore a simple jumpsuit now, the same color as the ship's bulkheads, but no fabric could hide the faint golden glow still pulsing under her skin. Her steps were slower, heavier, as though each movement required negotiation with gravity. The air seemed to bend subtly around her, not violently but gently like light refracted through water. Ree straightened instinctively, her tone shifting to something almost reverent. Captain on deck. Jack waved it off. Please don't. I've had enough responsibility for several lifetimes. Tarka's gaze drifted toward the viewport. The nebula beyond had collapsed into a swirling core, a remnant of the gravitational storm she created. It shimmered like a bruise across the universe. They are gone, she murmured. The Dominion, the Council fleets, the flagships that came to destroy me. All of it gone? Jack leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You did that. She shook her head. We did that. I was the weapon. You were the will. He studied her for a moment, trying to read the layers of exhaustion and guilt beneath her calm. You saved a lot of lives. I ended more. There was no argument to make. The silence that followed wasn't judgment. It was understanding. Jack exhaled and looked back at the console. Then maybe saving what's left is the best we can do. Returned from her display. Command's gone dark. Every human channel. We've got isolated colonies, but the central relay's dust. Jack blinked slowly. You're saying Earth doesn't know. I'm saying Earth doesn't exist on any of our scopes. There's just static. The words hit harder than any missile. Jack's voice cracked. Run it again. I've run it 20 times. He stood abruptly. The fatigue vanished beneath a rush of disbelief. That's impossible. We had planetary shields, fleets, satellites. Something hit the Sol system after the flare. Whatever it wasn't an attack. It was something else. A pulse. Every major hub in the sector went quiet at once. Jack's throat tightened. For the first time since the war began, he looked small, just a man who'd run out of worlds to protect. So, we save the galaxy and lose home. Tarka's eyes lowered. I am sorry. He forced a smile that didn't hold. Don't be. This is what we do. Win the battle, lose the planet. Her brow furrowed, confusion softening her face. Humor as shield. He shrugged. It's cheaper than therapy. They stood together, 3 survivors in a ship that had seen too much. The hum of the engines filled the quiet, steady, dependable, almost comforting. Then a faint ping echoed from the communications console. Return sharply. Signal. Weak, but human frequency. Jack's heart kicked. Put through. Static crackled, then resolved into a broken transmission. A voice, strained and metallic, came through. Anyone receiving, this is Admiral Vasquez, Remnants of Earth Command. Repeat, humanity is not gone. Jack slammed his fist against the console. Admiral, this is Sergeant Murdoch, aboard the Pathfinder. We thought you were dead. Not yet, the Admiral replied. We took shelter on Luna Base before the pulse hit. Earth's surface isn't safe, but we're rebuilding. If you're hearing this, we need to talk. Jack grinned at Ree. Guess the parade's back on the table. The signal flickered, then cut. Ree frowned. Lost them again. The transmission's not local. Could have been recorded hours ago. Jack nodded slowly. Still, it's enough. Tarka stepped closer, her eyes distant. If your world lives, then so does its spirit. Spirit's fine, Jack said. It's the plumbing and atmosphere I'm worried about. But beneath the joke, relief flickered. Hope thin but alive. They spent the next 3 days combing through the wreckage of the shattered fleets. Drones salvaged what little data survived, while engineers patched together hull fractures with whatever scrap metal they could scavenge. The Pathfinder became both ark and tomb, a drifting monument to everything lost and everything endured. At night, Jack found himself in the observation bay again, staring at the swirling remains of the nebula. The light pulsed faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat. Sometimes, if he listened closely, he could almost hear echoes, the ghosts of dying ships, of last words whispered into static. Tarka joined him without a sound. You should rest, she said. He didn't look at her. Every time I close my eyes, I see it. The moment the fleet folded in on itself. All those lives just erased. She lowered herself beside him, the deck creaking under her weight. You cannot carry them all. He smirked faintly. Sure I can. I've got a strong back. She studied him for a long time before speaking again. Do you regret saving me? The question hit like a punch. He turned to her, incredulous. What kind of question is that? A logical one, she said quietly. If you had chosen another, someone less dangerous, less strange, perhaps your world would still stand. He leaned back, crossing his arms. You think one fat alien girl took down humanity? That's a lot of power to put on your plate. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. I was not asking for comfort. Too bad. I'm giving it anyway. She sighed, her voice softer now. Among my people, strength is measured by control. To lose control is to lose honor. I lost both. Jack shook his head. You didn't lose control, Tarka. You just redefined it. Her eyes glowed faintly, golden light reflected in the glass. You humans, you are strange creatures. You laugh when you should scream. You hope when you should run. He smiled. That's our superpower. She looked away, expression unreadable. Perhaps it is also your curse. The quiet stretched between them. Somewhere deep in the ship, an engine hummed like a heartbeat. Then Ree's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we've intercepted another signal. Not human. It's coming from the galactic core. Jack frowned. Patch it through. The lights dimmed as a hologram flickered into existence, a tall, translucent figure draped in starlight. The voice was calm, deep and resonant. To the humans aboard the Pathfinder. I am Vorneth, last of the Dominion High Council. We surrender. Ree froze mid-command. Did he just... Yeah, Jack said, blinking. He surrendered. To us. Vorneth inclined his head. The Council's fleets are gone. Our worlds are broken. But your weapon remains, a creature of impossible gravity. We ask only that you control it before it consumes all. Tarka straightened. I am not your weapon. Vorneth's image wavered. Perhaps not, but power does not care what it is called. It merely is. The hologram dissolved before anyone could respond. Jack exhaled. Well, That's comforting. Return to him. He's right about one thing. That gravitational storm's still spreading. If we don't find a way to neutralize it, it'll tear half the quadrant apart within weeks. Tarka's voice was low. I can stop it. Jack looked at her sharply. How? Her gaze drifted toward the nebula. I began it. I can anchor it to myself, draw it inward, until it is stable. He frowned. That sounds suspiciously like a suicide plan. It is the only way, she said simply. No, he said, too quickly. We'll find another way. There is no other way, she insisted. The storm is part of me now. It listens to my pulse, my thought. If it spreads, it will follow my heartbeat to every corner of the stars. He stepped closer. Then we stop your heartbeat, is that it? Not happening. Ree glanced between them, torn. Captain Jack, if she's right, the gravitational collapse could destroy thousands of worlds. Jack clenched his fists. I don't care. We'll fix it without killing her. Tarka's voice softened. You cannot fix what was never broken. Bullshit. Her eyes glistened faintly. Then perhaps it is time to stop thinking like one. Before he could stop her, she pressed her palm against the viewport. The glass vibrated, then rippled outward as if liquefied. A beam of golden light burst from her chest, shooting into the swirling storm outside. The nebula responded instantly, its chaos folding inward like a collapsing dream. The light dimmed. The ship trembled. Jack lunged forward, grabbing her wrist. Tarka, stop. You'll tear yourself apart. Her voice was barely a whisper. It's all right. I'm not afraid anymore. The deck split under their feet as the gravitational field flared one last time. The nebula folded in on itself, then imploded, vanishing into a single, brilliant point of light. Silence returned. When the light faded, she was gone. Jack staggered back, staring at the empty space where she'd stood. The air still shimmered faintly, as if her presence lingered just beyond the visible spectrum. Ree whispered. She stabilized it. He didn't answer. He couldn't. The world felt too still, too wrong. Then, slowly, the console flickered to life. A single message blinked onto the main screen. Data encoded in a gravitational waveform, signature unmistakably hers. Jack read it aloud, his voice raw. Do not mourn me. I am not gone. I have merely become the weight that holds the stars together. When you look at the light, remember, gravity is love that refuses to let go. He pressed a hand to the glass, eyes burning. Damn it, Tarka. Ree turned away, giving him the quiet he needed. Outside, the nebula's center pulsed gently, golden and calm, like the heartbeat of the universe itself. After a long time, Jack straightened. Set course for Luna Base. Ree hesitated. What do we tell them? He smiled faintly, a tear slipping free. Tell them we met the galaxy's strongest empire. Tell them we won. And tell them the fat one fought back. The ship turned, engines igniting softly, slicing through the stillness toward the faint shimmer of home. Behind them, the newborn star pulsed one last time, bright, steady, eternal.